everybody. Welcome to Facebook Live. I appreciate you joining with us today. I promised you last week we are going to deal with one of the greatest shows ever produced to appear on television, known as The Wire. The Wire that was created by David Simon and Ed Burns, and that appeared on HBO. For those who may not be familiar with David Simon, he was for 12 years a writer at the Baltimore Sun. Ed Burns was also a police officer for 20 years. David Simon wrote The Coroner and Homicide, both of which became television shows. And he's also created some tremendous shows since The Wire, such as Treme and the recent The Plot Against America. But we want to deal with today what is considered to be one of the finest shows placed on television. It's not just me saying this, but when one of the publications in Hollywood, I believe it was Entertainment Weekly, listed the top 100 shows ever produced, and when Time Magazine did the same thing, when they surveyed critics from across the United States, The Wire always appeared either in 1, 2, or 3 in just about every survey. So why is The Wire essential viewing if you want to understand mass incarceration and the war on drugs? I put an asterisk right here at first to let you know that for those who are faint of heart, don't necessarily watch The Wire. It has some rough language, can be violent at moments. But let me break down The Wire. There is no other television show that has inspired more academic books than The Wire, and also created more classes on college level, graduate level, to examine the themes of The Wire that speak about social justice, the war on drugs, mass incarceration, and economics. All of that from this television show that does not just seek to inform or entertain, but pushes the audience to look at the world in a different way. So let me begin first with a little breakdown of The Wire. David Simon, the creator, as I stated, was a writer for the Baltimore Sun and was writing what he knew. But he did not want to create a typical show, a show that actually had an agenda, but did not want to shout the agenda that I'm sending out a message to everyone. So The Wire is broken up into 5 seasons. And The Wire, the way it is structured more like a novel than a television show. When you watch an American police drama, the police drama usually leads to some type of exposition where the main character has to draw their gun, stop the villain, of that nature. But not with The Wire. As a matter of fact, the typical things that you would see in a police drama don't even really recur very much in The Wire. People being chased down streets, doors being kicked in, it just doesn't happen because it focuses on characters. Season 1 is the season that deals with and sets the basis for the storyline. It takes the entire season to really see what the show is trying to do. Deals with the war on drugs. Season 1, the war on drugs. Season 2 makes a major dramatic shift where you deal with the ports in Baltimore. But Season 2 is an examination of economics and what the economy can do, a capitalist economy, can do to people. Good people can end up making poor choices. Season 3 is a focus on politics because every season is a focus on an institution and the failures of those institutions. Season 3 is politics. Season 4 is about the school system, and Season 5 is about journalism or the media. When The Wire starts in Season 1, we are shown 2 different institutions. One, we're shown a broken and at times corrupt police department in Baltimore, but a group of renegades who are attempting to do quote, good police work. They're working in a system that is broken. They're working in a game that is broken, that is rigged against them, but they're trying to do something decent. Then we're also introduced to another group of characters who are also a part of a system. They're a group of drug dealers. But what is interesting at what The Wire does is that it gives what we would normally think are the villains, it gives them complexity, it gives them a moral center, and in many ways, they have more ethics than the people in a normal television show, the police officers, than the police officers in The Wire. And so we witness this in season 1. We sometimes witness a corrupt officer doing the right thing for the wrong reason. But then it is always juxtaposed against a drug dealer who's doing the wrong thing for the right reason. And the way that The Wire is structured, it does parallels to show characters in the institution that we know as drug dealing, but to show them paralleled with the police officers and how both of them are caught in systems. Both of them caught in systems, and how the characters parallel against each other. We are not introduced to characters like Avon Barksdale and Stringer Bell as simply as evil, but as complex. People that have motivations and human beings that have cares and desires. Stringer Bell does not really want to be a drug dealer. He just wants to be legitimate, to make some wealth and move out of this system. But there is a game that keeps him in a system. Avon Barksdale doesn't particularly love drug dealing, but he does love the idea of power, the idea of mattering. And so we witness this. And then all of their lieutenants around them are fascinating characters, sharp, smart, complex, but yet they are all caught in the system. The same thing happens with all of the police officers, caught in a system, wanting to do something good in the city. All of this is shared in season 1. And we witness that there is a system, that the war on drugs is a failure, and it attacks primarily black and poor people. That's all season 1. Then season 2, we all of a sudden now witness how the economy can force people to make bad decisions, but for the right reason. So now we deal with the labor unions. We deal with the failure of the industrial economy, that we're caught in this particular system. Then we move to politics, and we see how politics, the political institution, is part of the problem, but at the same time caught in a system. Then season 4, which is my favorite season, deals with the public school system. Now, for those who are close watchers of The Wire, you will know that season 4 is an examination of the public school system, and we follow several young men through the public school system. But what it's doing, for those of you who've seen The Wire, all the seasons, I'm going to break it down for you. Season 4 and those characters are helping you to understand how Avon Barksdale made his decisions, how Stringer Bell became Stringer Bell, how Omar became Omar. All of the characters from season 1, how they became who they are, because the school system, even though you have incredibly intelligent young men, but because of particular, not just choices, but systems, end up hurting and crushing young men and young women. Then we witness in season 5 how the media, journalism, is more concerned about what bleeds than it leads, than actually doing the kind of work that can be transformative to the city. And in the background always is the city of Baltimore. Now that's a simple breakdown of The Wire, why it is an important and essential viewing. And then of course, there are some of the characters that are beloved in The Wire. Now, one of the most beloved characters in The Wire, and I absolutely love this character, played by Michael K. Williams, is a character known as Omar Little. Omar is an amazing character. He is a composite of actually 6 actual characters in Baltimore. He's a stick-up, what they would call a stick-up kid. But he has a particular code, ethics. He operates a certain way. He knows that there is a game because he's incredibly intelligent. He knows there's a game afoot, that you have drug dealers who are hurting the community, and it's Omar who says, you know what, I'm going to rob them, and I'm going to take their money, not because I want money, but because it will hurt the people who are hurting people in the community. He has no problem. He's never called a snitch by anyone because he's so deeply feared. He has no problem talking, working with police because he sees the system as being a problem. And what David Simon does so powerfully, when you look at the pictures and the images of Omar, is he is framed as a gunslinger, an individual gunslinger. Long coat, comes rolling into a place, takes what he wants, but money is not his motivation. Some of you will remember in one of the series, he stole some money from Marlowe and was willing to burn all the money because it wasn't money that he was after. It was to harm and to hurt those who were operating in this game that is destructive. Omar is the most ethical character in The Wire. Omar doesn't curse. Omar lives by a code. And as he told the detective, he said that there's no way that I would have shot that young man because I have never pulled a gun on anyone who was not in the game. A civilian, as he said. That's just wrong. I live by a code. He had a code where he took his grandmother every Sunday to church. And then when someone broke the code of a truce on Sunday, he was incensed. He was incensed by a new generation that was coming on board that did not recognize certain underlying ethics. But then one of the unique things that The Wire does, the most powerful character, who is actually the most powerful character on The Wire. And we witness Omar, who is also queer at the same time. Everybody fears him because of his ethics, because of his intelligence, and he is willing to even quote philosophy throughout The Wire. It's a fascinating character, and he's queer at the same time, where you have these hyper-masculine men, Avon, Barksdale, McNulty, all of the other police officers, and here comes Omar, who doesn't care what you think about him, but he knows more about the game than anybody else. So what has happened as a result of this is many colleges have been using The Wire to talk about the foolish nature of the war on drugs and how it is destructive to black men and black women. And The Wire shows in a beautiful way, like a novel, because it takes an entire season for you to really understand what is going on, because there's so much subtlety in The Wire to show that there is a game that hurts people who are poor, people of color, and hurts women. The Wire does all of this. And it does this by slowly walking you through the challenges of a city where the investment has been pulled out and where the political leadership is not concerned about what is happening to the citizens. Well, we just got a train that's coming by. It's a train one to listen to The Wire also. But we're going to continue on. This is Facebook Live, and we're almost done too. And so I would encourage you to pick up some of the books that will be really helpful for your understanding of The Wire. There is The Wire and Philosophy, for those who are philosophy fans. But another book that The Wire really is based on, that deals with these issues, is by Reinhold Niebuhr, Moral Man, Immoral Society. Another great read that will help you appreciate The Wire and have a greater understanding of the war on drugs is The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. One of my favorite is a book called The Condemnation of Blackness by Dr. Khalil Gibran Muhammad that talks about the criminalization of black people. There are some tremendous pieces of literature out there. Now, there is one seminal article that if you want to really be able to watch The Wire and understand the issues of The Wire, it is by Ta-Nehisi Coates. It is from, I believe, 2016 in the Atlantic magazine. It is the black family in the age of mass incarceration. That article, you read that article, you watch The Wire, you read The New Jim Crow, you watch The Wire, you read Moral Man and Immoral Society, and watch The Wire. You read The Wire and Philosophy. Your viewing experience will be astonishing because The Wire, as David Simon wrote it and developed it, was to deal with the issues of the war on drugs and how it is a futile, foolish, and a political lie. So I love this show, as you know, as I'm showing by my excitement. But it is a great way to help college students, graduate students, really grasp hold of the idea of what the war on drugs have done to communities and how we need to rethink how our institutions are structured. This is what The Wire does. So I hope that it may be while you are sheltering in place, and those of you who are not afraid of some heavy viewing, you might take a look at The Wire, but also put some of this reading with it. The Wire and Philosophy, the article by Ta-Nehisi Coates entitled The Black Family in the Age of Mass Incarceration. It can also be found in his book, We Were 8 Years in Power. The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. The Condemnation of Blackness by Dr. Khalil Gibran Muhammad. And Reinhold Niebuhr's Moral Man, Immoral Society. All of these texts will help you view The Wire in a different way, but have a better grasp on the war on drugs and why it must end. And mass incarceration must be obliterated from the American political lexicon. Well, I know that every week we deal with mental and spiritual health, and one of the ways that you deal with your mental and spiritual health is to develop intellectually, to not just watch something and look for bang, bang, shoot 'em up, but something that makes you think, that pulls at your heart. I remember having conversation with Reverend Sean McMillan. We were talking about season 4 of The Wire, and I will not give away any particular scene, but there was a scene in there that we were talking about and how it deeply moved us because of the subtlety of what it was sharing about this young man's childhood. The Wire, my recommendation. I hope that you have a great day today. Next week, we're going to get back into some more books and some films so that you can be blessed as you're sheltering in place that will lift your spirits and also cause you to think at the same time. I'm Otis Moss III. Thank you for joining us for Facebook Live.